Managing a small team or business comes with a unique set of challenges. With limited resources and manpower, it's easy for things to feel chaotic and out of your control. How can you, as a leader, accomplish your goals while keeping your team engaged, effective, and accountable? This podcast will give you practical strategies you can implement now to lead your team or business to reach its fullest potential. Welcome to the Organizing Chaos podcast with your host, Danny Coleman.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Organizing Chaos, where we talk about small practical strategies for small teams and small businesses. And today I have my buddy Pete Prevost of Briarworks. They make custom pipes, and he's here today with me to talk about his small business, which is how many people big?
There's 6 of us.
6 total.
Yep.
And they just recently relocated from Nashville here to Columbia, Tennessee. And yeah, dude, thank you, Pete, so much for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about kind of like how you got into pipes, and you know what did you do before you got to do what you're loving?
Yeah, so I got my first pipe when I was 18. I got a corncob pipe. I grew up in a town in California, Bakersfield, California.
Oh yeah,
and,
did we talk about this? I'm from.
Maybe,
I lived in Fresno for 4 years.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't know if we've ever actually talked about that.
That's crazy.
But yeah. So, yeah, both from the Central Valley.
My wife was born in San Diego.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I grew up in Bakersfield, and I played in bands for a lot of years, and smoked a pipe when I was 18, got a corncob pipe, and so, like a lot of people, I ended up in Nashville because of music, and in 2005, I moved out here.
Okay.
And when I got to Nashville, I kind of just moved out here because I had, gotten to know a bunch of people in the music industry.
Yeah.
So moved out here, joined a band. It's a Christian rock band called Sanctus Real.
Okay.
And I was in that band for almost about nine years.
Okay.
And that was my profession, you know. And during that time, I started getting, I'd go out on the road and I would find antique pipes and clean them up and add them to my collection.
Yeah.
And I sort of one of the other guys in our band, we kind of got this idea about it'd be really cool to carve our own pipe. So we looked online. We found some pipe kits that were like a pre-drilled block, basically, with a stem already attached to it. And I got it, and we were off for a couple days, and I just immediately started got some files, rasps, got in there and started carving it, and pretty much just didn't stop for the next couple days.
Yeah.
I just all I did, and I was instantly hooked. And I made that first pipe, and I had this really satisfying feeling of this is really cool. This is a functional pipe that I can smoke tobacco out of, and I can have for a long time. I want to make more of these.
Yeah.
And so I got some more kits and started just kind of experimenting with how I was doing it, trying to get better with each one. And I met another guy in town in the Nashville area that was a pipe maker, and he sort of took me under his wing, and he was really well known in the handmade pipe making world. Oh. And so he started teaching me, and through my time learning from him, I met another friend of his that was a pipe maker named Todd Johnson, and Todd sort of had me start coming to his shop, and I really started learning a lot and spending every day that I was off the road, with Todd, learning how to make pipes. And so that went on for a few years, and I had sort of built my own name as a handmade carver, and I would go out to the, all the pipe shows where people would, set up vendor tables, and they would bring their handmade pipes and everything. And it was about 2013, I was kind of looking to get off the road from touring. At that point, I had a couple kids and just didn't want to be out on the road all the time.
So was that your full-time job, I guess?
It was,
then?
yeah.
That's pretty interesting. You were doing something that a lot of people aspire to do.
Yes.
As their passion.
Yeah.
And then you went from doing that to doing something that you're actually more passionate about.
Yeah. And it's funny because I feel like they were equal passions of mine. And the pipes, I never thought would become such a strong passion for me.
Yeah.
Music was always what I wanted to do. And I somehow, through the right, connections and people ended up doing it professionally.
Yeah.
and it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of great experiences, but I was gone over 200 days a year.
Wow.
And I was touring full time, playing music, making records, whatever. So it's like when I was home, I was like constantly in the studio, or we were writing or whatever. So it just felt like I didn't have enough time at home with the family.
What did you do in the band?
I was a guitar player.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and I played a few other things like that I kind of picked up to fill in live on stage or whatever. Some piano, banjo, like whatever.
Cool, very cool.
So I ended up like about 2013. Todd and I were talking, and he was like, "I really want to start a pipe factory." And so at first, he had like a pretty strong following of collectors in China.
Oh, wow.
And so his original idea was to start like a pipe factory in China, but mainly for the Chinese market, because there's this like growing like pipe market in China. Yeah. So we actually took a couple trips over to China, and through a business partner that he had over there, like we kind of like got this factory going, and it was just a total disaster though, because unless we were there, like quality would just suffer, and it was just awful. We would get like pipes back over, and we would be like, man, we got to fix every single one of these, or this one's got to be thrown away. And so ultimately it just wasn't going to work out. And so we were having another conversation about it'd be really cool to actually start a factory in the U.S. for the U.S. market mainly, but to ship worldwide, because all the factories that have been around for decades in the U.S. had gone away, and really the only factories left in the U.S. were some friends of ours in Missouri. They have a corncob pipe factory. Okay. And they've been around since the 1800s.
Wow.
They're like a historical, factory that's been around forever.
Yeah.
But a totally different type of pipe, different price range, everything.
Yeah.
And then a lot of like people's grandpas, smoked Dr. Graybo pipes. Those are the ones you see like behind the counter in a drugstore.
Oh, yeah.
And those are actually still being made in Sparta, North Carolina. Oh. And they're more of a, mass-produced pipe that, sells for like $30 or so.
The only pipe I ever got was one of those drugstore ones.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm going to get one from you, but I got to do my research first.
Yeah. So there was no one doing like a quality briar pipe anymore in the U.S.
Briar pipe, is that, you told me before, that's a type of wood, right?
Yeah. So the wood is briar. And it's a root ball from a shrub that grows only around the Mediterranean Sea.
Okay.
And so they harvest up these big root balls, and they cut them into blocks. They boil them to get the impurities out, and then they let them slow dry for several months. And then we order them in, by different block size designations.
Gotcha.
Come in burlap sacks. We let them dry for a while, and then we actually turn them into pipes. And so there was this like factory U.S. made thing that we were trying to do, and Nashville, with all the growth that was happening, this is like a really cool thing. So we got going with it, and that was 5 years ago. And it's been a big struggle, because just for the first few years, even just kind of figuring out which direction, what our focus was, if we wanted to be more like just a factory that made pipes that wasn't even really like a brand necessarily, that was our brand,
right,
but we would just manufacture for other people, or did we want to be more of a direct to consumer sort of brand that we actually had those relationships with the consumers. And I think over time there was we kind of figured out we could do a little bit of a hybrid of that. And Todd's still an owner in the company. He's not really involved anymore, but about 2 years ago they kind of put me in as like the president of the company.
Gotcha. To
run it. And so I'm a part owner, Todd's part owner, and there's a couple other owners in it as well.
Silent partners or like?
Sort of, not really silent partners. Okay. They're actually pretty involved, but they're just it's a father and son, and they actually didn't know this industry at all. It's just they happened to know Todd from years before.
Gotcha.
And they wanted to invest and partner because we were going to have to buy a lot of expensive equipment, build custom machinery, do a bunch of stuff. So, and they've been a huge help. And for me, it's been a big help because like my background is being in a band. I don't have a business background. And so having, a couple guys that were really successful with their own businesses and, building and selling companies, whatever, they've been like mentors, to me and taught me a lot, and it's really helped, and their support obviously financially is what got us where we are. And, it's one of those sort of quirky industries. Cigars, premium cigars is still a very thriving, large industry. Premium pipes, it is a thriving industry, but to a very small, like sort of eclectic group of people. But it's bigger than people realize. It's one of those things where we consider ourselves sort of like a boutique, small batch factory. Mm-hmm. We make about 6,000 to 7,000 pipes a year.
Okay.
And the few other factories that operate that are bigger than us overseas, they make 80 to 100,000 pipes a year.
Okay, wow.
And so there's still a lot of room for us to grow and continue building from. Those factories have been around for 100 years, a lot of them. So I'm not sure if we'll ever get there or not, but I know that there's a lot of room for us to grow with what we're doing. So it's been a great learning experience, and like I said, I think that we found sort of a hybrid of what we want to do with the business. We do sell mostly wholesale. We ship most of our pipes that we make out to other retailers so that they can sell them.
Gotcha.
But part of the goal behind moving this whole business down to Columbia was so that we could actually create like a destination space.
Yeah.
People can come see the factory. They can hang out in our store, our lounge, and we can also build those direct to consumer relationships with people too.
Do you guys have any kind of online interaction kind of stuff like that?
Yeah.
You get do you have some people who are really into you guys and stuff?
Yeah, there are. They kind of come and I wouldn't say come and go, but there are guys that they'll get really excited about our pipes. Yeah. And every week almost they're buying a new pipe. And then they realize they can't spend that much money. And then they sort of back off a little bit. But it's really cool actually. We have really great, I feel like for being a small company that's very small with the amount of people that are involved, I feel like we do a really good job with customer service and keeping good communication with our customers. And we've gotten a lot of positive feedback. I feel like most people that once they try one of our pipes, if they're already a pipe collector, a lot of times they'll write us and be like, man, this is my favorite pipe I've ever bought. I'm never buying another factory pipe from anywhere else. I love you guys. You guys are awesome. So it's been really good. And I feel like people really gravitate towards the sort of US made, factory pipe thing. Yeah. And we're different than any other factory because our factory is made up of, a team of artisan pipe makers. All of us are handmade carvers separately from this business. So, the attention to detail, the quality level, everything is a lot higher than you're going to find on most factory pipes.
Yeah. I want to come see I know you started showing me a couple days ago.
Yeah.
I want to see the whole process. It makes me honestly, I just think about do you remember Mr. Rogers? He used to show you how things are made.
Yeah.
I think what I got to see so far, just from yours, that was really just interesting. I think an overall kind of I think it's probably worldwide, but I'll speak more specifically to America. You can see happening this. It's a return to craftsmanship. It's a return to serving a niche or niche, whatever you want to say it. And it's we got so big. Things are so mass produced and mass advertising, and you kind of just knew that this wasn't really for you, but you were made to believe it was for you as far as products and services go. But now that we have the internet, it's a lot more easy for people to find people like yourself, small companies that are doing something really well, and then that resonates with you, and you want to be a part of that. You want to be a part of this small group that they're creating or whatever.
Yeah. So. And I think that is our goal, because in the beginning we really focused, I think the branding, whatever you want to call it in the beginning, was more focused on like, we've got the best equipment and machinery in the world. We can make, these perfectly precise like pipes like nobody else can. And we've got this like real like secretive technology, that was more the focus in the beginning. And whenever I took over running the company, like I really felt like the thing that we were really missing, and it was like we were sort of missing the mark with that, because it just wasn't true to me. There was so much more struggle involved in every single one of those pipes than we led people to believe. Like we led them to believe that we had this like perfect clean white glove sort of factory, and it's not. It's a dirty, sort of dusty factory. And it's artisan carvers that are, using their really high level skills to, sand and stain and buff the pipes and make them really nice. It's a skilled, job that they're doing with the pipes. And to me, it's so much, we've totally like shifted the focus to go away from talking about like any cool machines or anything like that. It's more about like the hand detail that goes into each and every pipe, and that it's not mass produced. Like if you compare us to any other, major factory brand, we're making a fraction of the amount of pipes, and we're focused more on the detail, so
it's, it totally falls in line with just a general theme for like the last couple of interviews I've done, which has just been this, you will only be really happy yourself and you'll only find like the success that you want if you move into the most genuine spot you can, about being genuine with your voice, about what, how you do what you do, like, cause it's like people are going to, not everyone's going to like you, you know, but when you have the scale that's available to us now because of the internet, then you open yourself up to people finding you who do like you for who you are, so you can be your genuine self. You don't have to worry about like, well, what do all the people in Columbia want, or Murray County or Tennessee, or even for that matter. You don't have to think so much about that. It actually ends up making like marketing and branding easier, because you're just like, you should always be asking yourself, how can we be more real? How can we be more authentic? And you will always have the answer to those things, so long as you're having discussions that are aimed at that. So that's cool. So like, we'll go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, and that's where I think we've kind of finally started to figure that out. You know, with this move, part of it, it's like sort of this fresh start for us. Even though we're still a pretty young company, it's sort of like a new beginning for us, and that's part of the thing that we figured out was like, we just need to be who we are, and hope that people like it. And hope that people want to partake and be involved in it. And it seems to be working really well for us.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, and that's, I'm a believer in that. I think it's what we're seeing as being the truth, like Apple's a good example of a company that was doing that earlier. Lots of other companies. Apple's just a real relatable example. It's like, whether you hate them or love them, like they well, not as much recently, but they were very good about just like, this is who we are, this is how we do it, and we're not going to do it differently. And you get a lot of flack, but they became Apple, So it's like, it's kind of proof that like authenticity, it really does sell. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about like some of the struggles that have taken place in the past 5 years, or even specifically you want to talk to like when you came in, like as you said, you became the president, your title. Okay. So like when you became president, now you were kind of in charge of the business more, and your background was band. Like how did you get your footing? How did you get going with that?
I think one of our biggest struggles still right now is that, this has cost a lot of money. And, we've had, two great investors that have, been very generous and really believed in what we're doing. So they've continued to, put money in when it's necessary. But like, it's one of those things where, you also get to a point where it's like, we were maybe feeling more generous about this, in the beginning, but it's taken so long to do this one thing that it's kind of hard to pull the trigger on, like putting more money into this, So it's like, there's different examples of that, but really what it comes down to is we're in this place where we're trying to grow, and we're a small group of guys, there's only a handful of us. So everybody's sort of like doing a million different jobs, and it's been hard to get organized with that to where we can sort of get all the things done that we're trying to accomplish with that small group of people. And we sort of hit this point where we're like, yeah, in order to grow, like we probably need to, bring in someone to do that knows pipes well, knows the industry, to do more full-time sales, because I do all the sales.
Yeah.
But again, like I'm also trying to run the company.
Right.
So it's like, I feel like our sales suffer because of that.
Yeah.
But then I also feel like the company suffers because of it, because I'm trying to do jobs of like 4 or 5 different people.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm only doing like 20 or 25% as good as I should be doing on each of those jobs, So that's a big struggle, because it's like, yes, we need to bring someone in that is talented, that, knows our product, knows how to sell it, has connections in the industry. But at the same time, it's like pulling the trigger on paying that person or whatever, we'll have to get a little bit creative. But that's sort of where we're at right now. Like something I was just talking with one of the other guys today about is that, we really need to bring in, someone like that to kind of help us take sales to another level. But then we also have to be mindful of, our expenses and everything. And there's a lot of room to grow, but we're trying to like get all the pieces of the puzzle to kind of come together at the right time.
Oh yeah, no, I mean like, and that's a common struggle too, because it's just like you said it exactly, like when you're wearing 5 hats, and most time in small business, no one gets to wear just one.
Yeah.
So you're doing a job, and you kind of have to do it essentially at a 50% capacity or whatever, because you only have a certain amount of bandwidth because you're just a human.
Yeah.
And so bringing someone else in can be really daunting. But I will say one thing, just like if it's a sales position, that actually makes for an opportunity to do commission, which can potentially lower your cost to get them in there. And you can commission them on sales. But yeah, no, so that's totally understandable. Do you guys have any kind of like organization? Like, what does your organization look like? I mean, do you guys feel like you have pretty clear cut roles, or do you feel like there's a lot of bleed over?
Well, that there is some bleed over. Actually, we've been having a lot of discussions, like now that we've got the store open, and I feel like we're starting to get a little bit more organized with the space. We were just discussing, me and a couple of the guys that work there, like, okay, we need to, there's a couple things we need to execute in terms of organization, especially like roles, because, everybody was brought in for a certain role, but of course, like that's added on,
right?
And everybody's got 5 different roles now. So and it's not that anybody minds doing those roles, but I do want to go and work on sort of organizing that so everybody knows what their role is.
Right.
So it's like they know what's expected of them, but at the same time, they're not doing something that, they were like, I didn't sign up for this, kind of thing. So it's something that we're actually working on. But I do feel like we struggle there. We're still a little bit unorganized in that way. And I think it's something that over the next, few months, like we really got to hone in on. Now that we've got the store open, especially, it's like a whole nother business.
Right. Yeah. So.
And it's something that we had never done before. In Nashville, we were just, we were a pipe manufacturer, and we sold wholesale, we sold online, direct, but we never had a storefront, Someone might wander in, because they were in town visiting Nashville. They might come by and see us. But like now we actually have this retail location that we're trying to, in line with what's happening in Columbia as well. We're trying to really push ourselves to be open 7 days a week, because we want to provide.
Good for you.
We want to
around here.
Yeah, we want to provide something for people to do in Columbia that is, not closed on Sunday. We're really trying to make that work. And so far it is, we're not, like, we're still a brand new store. People are still learning about us in town. But it is, it's one of those things that I feel like in order for the city to become, what I think it wants to be, like everybody's going to have to stretch themselves a little bit to try and make that stuff available to people, so that they're not reaching to Franklin or to Nashville for things to do, but they're like, I can hang here in Columbia locally.
There are a few places that are just, you're one of them, and I'd say one of, like, maybe I can't name more than 5 right now, and some of those places aren't even quite open yet, but their plans are. So it's going to happen where people are going to have to start being open. either different out, either more or at least on the weekends differently than they
Yeah.
have been. But so like, what's the kind of like in terms of like where you want to go with Briarworks, like where do you guys envision it being like in the long term, or like maybe 10 years, 5 years from now?
I think that, well, first off, I kind of like modeled what we're doing here after what you would see like at a brewery or a distillery, where people can come and I want to grow it to where people can experience like a tour, where we can actually have scheduled tours. People can go through, they can see the whole process, how it works. I think that could be something that we do regularly. I can envision that being a really cool thing.
Yeah.
And create sort of as a destination, people kind of like how, Jack Daniel's is in the middle of nowhere in Lynchburg, Tennessee, but, people drive down there and take a trip just to go like experience that. I really want that to be something that we have a big focus on. And I'd love to see us even get to the point where, because finishing a factory pipe, it's sort of like half like assembly, half like, sanding, staining, finishing, and all that. It could even be something where people come through. I'd love to see people be able to come through and like kind of pick out the components, the finish and everything of their pipe. And if they've got a few hours to kill and they want to have a cigar or smoke in the lounge or whatever, it could be done before they walk out the door.
That'd be really cool.
Or it could be something the next day where they could come back in and pick it up the next day. That's something I'd like to see us do. There hasn't been like in a few years like a Nashville pipe show, and pipe shows are these kind of things that happen like throughout the year around the country. They're usually pretty small, but we had a pretty decent little pipe show going in Nashville for a few years, and 400 or 500 people would travel from out of town to come in for it, and it was a good like sort of like 2-day event. I really want to, I kind of set up the factory so that we could clear the factory floor, and I would love to start doing like an annual pipe show that brings people into Columbia.
Wow,
and they get to hang out in the area and sort of build off of that and make it this big sort of annual pipe show event where pipe collectors will come in for it from out of town, but then also local people. It's a good opportunity for them to kind of see what this like unique pipe and premium cigar like culture is like, and like I think that could be really cool too.
Well, no, I gotta tell you, like, I mean, you've got me really interested. Not only just in the culture of it, I mean, but specifically getting a pipe. Like, I mean, I said I got that one. I think I used I used it like one time. Like I was going on a camping trip, and then like tobacco. I'm not ever like been like big on it, but like I like the community aspect of anything like that. And I find it's like it becomes more intriguing when you realize like I don't know, you've made it really approachable, and I think that's the important thing about really any industry becoming more authentic is they make whatever it is that they do more approachable, and it's easier to learn about it, and you just feel like I can relate to this more than like if you think about maybe what the wine industry would have been like back a handful of years, it seemed real pretentious, I mean, to an outsider, maybe not to people who were familiar with it, but if you were thinking like, oh man, I'd like to know about wine, but like, you can't, because you feel like there's just so many things you don't know about it. Where do you even start, or whatever? It just feels a little overwhelming. So you're just like, never mind, I won't do it. Let's get this 4 bottle of wine, or whatever.
No, that's actually a good example, and I hadn't really thought about this, but I'm comparing it in my mind right now. Like if I were to go to a wine bar or something like that, it could be a good experience. It could be, I'm gonna get like a snobby, like employee that doesn't want to teach me anything, but you're probably only going to learn so much unless you just happen to find that person in a wine bar that is like really enthusiastic about it. But I've also gone with my wife, we went once out to Napa area and it was actually like a boutique, winery, and we sat down, did a wine tasting, and that was a totally different experience, because I'm dealing with the people that make the wine, and it's their passion. They're very excited to teach me about it. There was no pretentiousness at all. It was just like, hey, we don't know the first thing about this, but like, will you teach us? And they were more than happy to share as much information as we wanted to know about it. and they wanted us to have a great experience. Ultimately, they're trying to sell a product, but there's this passion that comes behind it. And that's sort of the difference between maybe just your typical smoke shop and us, is especially with pipes. Cigars is a totally different animal, because you find in a lot of cigar and pipe shops that the people that work there usually know a lot about cigars, or they're trying to know a lot about cigars, but pipes can be sort of afterthought. Whereas, people will come to us and it's like there is that passion behind it. So we love that. That's why I think that we've been doing well with pipe sales in the building since we moved there. I've actually been a little bit surprised how many pipes we've been selling through there, but like, people come to us because they're like, these are the guys that make it, and we're not pretentious about it at all. People are always a little bit nervous at first to talk to us about it because they think we're gonna like be like, you don't know what you're talking about. But we love having conversations with people about pipes and teaching them how to properly pack a pipe or take care of it. Teach them about the different pipe tobaccos, because it is a community experience. It's something that. That's why we set up the lounge the way we did, as a big sort of open room. We want people to meet other strangers that they've never met before, and be able to sort of share this common interest together over pipes and have conversations and get to know each other. And I think there's a real opportunity there, and I'm kind of excited to see what happens with it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, me too. And you've completely sold me on it. I mean, just like, just since we started talking, and then I walk into the space, I'm just like, I'm going to get a pipe from here. This will be my first real pipe. We'll be from here for sure. Well, dude, thank you so much for being here. I could talk to you forever. We might have you on the show again. Who knows? Yeah. Because there's so much that can be unpacked from, like, creating a small business and just kind of what goes into it, the heart, the passion, the enthusiasm that goes into it, but then like also just like the difficult stuff, that's like the non-sexy part of a small business. And all of it, it's like there's so much there. But do you have anything like big that you got coming up, any kind of events or anything like that you want to share with people?
Well, we're really working on right now. We've been trying to get our beer permit.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's a whole nother story, but I think we're going to get it. And I think we're going to get it hopefully mid-November. If everything works out, we'll see. But once we do that, then I want to start hosting a lot more events. We've got a big 9-foot projector screen. So in addition to obviously putting on all the, whatever college or NFL football or whatever is being aired on TV, I'd like to start doing some like movie nights there.
Yeah.
But, it's like sort of part of the equation to that is having the beer on tap and having that sort of service as well.
Yeah.
So there's no specific events coming up, but definitely look forward to some events throughout the fall and winter time with us, because we will be a nice cozy place to come indoors. You can smoke inside, hang out, and then people can check us out on our website is briarworksusa.com.
Okay.
We're on social media, Instagram, briarworks. Kind of keep up with us there to, because we will be, as events unfold, we'll be posting about them and, letting people know what's coming up.
Very cool. And what's the address for your shop?
It's 511 North Main.
Sweet. Right on. Well, dude, thank you so much for being on the show. Really appreciate it. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, if you have any kind of questions or you would like to hear us unpack a certain topic on the podcast, shoot me an email, danny@coleman.me. You can also, if you're interested in being on the podcast, you can sit in this lovely blue chair like Pete is here. You can do that if you have something that you'd like to share with a small business audience. I'd love to help you get that message out there. I appreciate 5-star reviews to help my message get out there, but I will take any kind of honest feedback. If you leave me a podcast review on either iTunes or Stitcher, it really helps me. You can check me out on Spotify as well. I haven't mentioned that in a while, but Spotify's a cool place to find me. But yeah, if you guys have any kind of questions, let us know. And I hope you all have an awesome rest of your day. Thanks.
Want more? Go to DannyColeman.me to download Danny's free small business hiring guide, which includes tips, templates, and tools, plus a step-by-step process you can use to find and keep high-quality employees for your small team or business.